Welcome into STB Sports Take, simply the best sports podcast. I'm your host, Sean Bingham. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts, we are there. Please hit that subscribe button. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram, STB Sports Take. Loaded podcast today. We got the NBA Finals. We've got Kevin Durant being traded. We've got all sorts of good stuff. Gilbert Arenas back with all sorts of different top 5 lists. Tons of stuff to discuss, but we're going to start with this. The Thunder just completed an absolutely historic season. And the only reason it doesn't feel like that to some fans is for 3 simple reasons. 1, they're a small market team, Oklahoma City. It's not exactly New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Boston. Oklahoma City doesn't have the glitz and glamour of those bigger cities. 2, they're a young team. All of their rotation players are lesser known. They haven't been in the league quite long enough to be as popular as other stars, which is really the third reason as well, and that is they don't have an established superstar. I get it, SGA is a superstar. He just won the MVP, but he's not LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant in popularity and notoriety. He's not even at a Luka Doncic level in that regard, even though he's got an MVP and Luka doesn't. Luka, I would say, is still the bigger name. So because they don't have the big name, they don't have the established players, and they don't have the big market, people think, oh, this is just kind of an average title. But it's actually an absolutely historic one. They have the 5th most wins in NBA history at 68. They have the largest point differential or average margin of victory in NBA history at nearly 13 points per game. They were outscoring their opponents. They have the league MVP on their team, and they won the title. This is truly one of the greatest seasons in NBA history. Now, I get it, Halliburton got hurt. We're going to get into that in a minute, but do not take this win from the Thunder. They won the finals. Indiana didn't lose it, and they certainly didn't lose it because of Halliburton. The Thunder won it. This was a dominant team the entire season, and they are here to stay. The 2019 Raptors won the title after Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson both went down with season-ending injuries, but nobody takes that away from them anymore. I don't think that'll be the case here. So don't take this finals away from the Thunder just because Halliburton got hurt. And ultimately, I don't think anybody will. I mean, we saw the Raptors win in 2019 after Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson both went down with injury. Nobody thinks about that as much now. In fact, Kawhi Leonard is largely credited with a major boost in his overall career legacy because of that finals and finals MVP. Because of that title and finals MVP that he won, despite the fact that Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson didn't finish the series. So ultimately, I think people will look back as SGA and Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren and the rest of this young Thunder squad continue to win games and probably get another title or two. I think people will look back at this as merely the beginning of a dynasty. Which brings me to my next point. The Thunder just won the NBA title, and they're only getting started. They're the youngest team, they're the least experienced team, and they're the NBA champs. Dynasty incoming? I think so. I said this a couple of weeks ago even, before the finals even started, that the Thunder were on the brink of a dynasty. This is truly the youngest team in the NBA. The average age of their roster is younger than any other team in the league. Not only that, but the average years of experience that each player has on their roster is the fewest, the least amount in the entire NBA. Their head coach is only 40. This team, every single player that actually plays in the rotation is still under contract. They have young developing players on the bench. This team is absolutely on the brink of a dynasty, and they just started it off nicely with a title, and I think more are coming. This team is so young, they didn't even know how to pop the champagne bottles in the locker room. They had to ask Unc Caruso, the old man at age 31, how to pop a bottle because he's got the age and he's been there and won a title with the Lakers in the bubble of 2020. Look at this.
It's up. Hey, Steve, teach me though. I think you gotta take the red.
You twist the cork out and ready.
Hey, Steve, how are you? It's up. Hey, Steve, teach me though. I think you gotta take the red.
How funny is that? They don't even know how to pop the bottles. They're so young and inexperienced. They literally don't know how to pop the champagne bottles. They had to go to a veteran, Alex Caruso, and ask him how to do it. So this team is poised for the future. The youngest team, the MVP, the defending champs. So now they've been there, done that. This experience is going to be so valuable to them moving forward. It will be an absolute shame if the Thunder don't win at least one more title with this same core unit. And of course, the cornerstone of everything is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA just joined basketball royalty. Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and now Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That is the list of guys in NBA history who have won the scoring title, won the league MVP, won the NBA championship, and won the Finals MVP all in the same season. Unbelievable season by SGA, truly historic. It's only been done 7 times, 4 of those times by my main man, Michael Jordan. And then Shaq did it once in 2000, Kareem in 71, and now SGA in 2025. We cannot downplay what he's doing here. We cannot downplay what the Thunder are doing. This team truly had a historic season, a record-breaking season, the 5th most wins, the MVP, one of only 4 guys in the history of the league to do what he did. And on top of that, he was first in defensive win shares, which I know defensive win shares largely depend on your team winning the game, but still, on a great defensive team, he had the highest win shares of all of them. Like, the guy can defend on top of leading the league in scoring, on top of being league MVP, on top of being finals MVP. It's a historic season for SGA, and the guy needs to get more props. So where does this title and this historic season put SGA among the all-time Thunder greats? Honestly, I said a few weeks ago that to me it was still Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant after that, and SGA was third. But the more I've thought about it, why is it not SGA right now? He's got the scoring title, which those guys got. He's got the MVP, which those guys got. And now he has a title and a finals MVP that those guys never got. Russ never has, period. And Durant didn't get it until he bailed on OKC for Golden State. SGA brought that title to Oklahoma City. I get it, he wasn't drafted by the Thunder, but they traded for him early, and he's been there for several years, and he's accomplished more and brought more to the city than those guys ever did. So to me, right now, SGA is the greatest Thunder of all time. I get it, he's not had the same career as Kevin Durant, maybe even not the same career as Russell Westbrook with the several seasons averaging a triple-double. So what, maybe it's just a formality. We wait a couple more seasons for him to be an all-star 2 or 3 more times, win a round or 2 in the playoffs a few more times. That's all those guys were doing anyway, was making all-star games and winning a round or 2 in the playoffs. They made the finals 1 time and got beat in 5 games. Other than that, they didn't even go back to a finals. So if he just has to go through the formality of waiting a few seasons being an all-star, then it's just a matter of time before he is truly the greatest Thunder, which in my mind makes him the greatest Thunder of all time right now. But the true GOAT of OKC is Sam Presti. Nobody is cooking like this guy. Drafts, trades, steals. He is absolutely the best in the game. He has built and rebuilt this team despite all odds. Small market. Loses an MVP caliber guy in James Harden, loses an MVP in Kevin Durant, has to trade away an MVP in Russell Westbrook, has to deal with Paul George wanting to get traded out into a big market, goes through all of this and builds and rebuilds the team and wins an NBA title while all of those players I just mentioned are still in the league, but none of them play for the Thunder. It's unbelievable what the Thunder and Sam Presti have done. This guy drafted Kevin Durant. He drafted James Harden. He drafted Russell Westbrook. He drafted Chet Holmgren. He drafted Jalen Williams. He got Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams in the same draft. That's how great of an eye he has for talent. He got Chet and Jalen Williams in the same draft. This guy picked up Lou Dort as an undrafted free agent. Lou Dort just started on the NBA champion Thunder. He was picked up by Sam Presti as an undrafted free agent in 2019. Presti picked up Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency to a small market. That is not easy to do. To pull a guy in free agency from New York to Oklahoma City, he did it. He pulled it off. And Hartenstein just started for this team, NBA champs. Presti traded superstar Paul George to the Clippers for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Gallinari, and a slew of draft picks, one of which turned into Jalen Williams. He drafted Josh Giddey, who is a really good player, but he realized, you know what? We need better defense. Josh Giddey isn't the fit we're looking for. So he traded him to the Bulls for Alex Caruso, who many viewed was a lopsided trade in favor of Chicago. But what did it do? It brought a defensive, selfless, more veteran guy to this young Thunder squad, gave them a defensive presence that they needed, gave them that bottle-popping presence that they needed, and it brought a title to OKC. In the middle of all this, he traded away Russell Westbrook to briefly acquire Chris Paul and a whole bunch of picks, and Chris Paul brought that veteran presence to the squad that they needed to teach these younger players how to play the game the right way. Chris Paul helped them develop and learn and improve, and then he quickly traded away Chris Paul because he was aging and he had a massive contract. He is a masterful GM, the absolute best in the biz, and to me, excluding players, Sam Presti is the GOAT of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, we got to get in now to the Halliburton injury. Horrible, horrible thing for Tyrese Haliburton. He was not having the greatest series, but he was having an epic playoff run, one of the most clutch playoff runs in the history of the league. He was playing fantastic in this Game 7. He had 9 points already in just 7 minutes of play. He was on that right calf strain, which, man, he played fantastic in Game 6. But now we know it definitely was truly hurt because the worst case scenario happened. Ruptures his Achilles. I don't think the team's actually fully confirmed that, but that's clearly what happened. His dad, I believe, confirmed it. Ruptures his Achilles. I feel absolutely horrible for the guy. I feel horrible for him, first and foremost, his teammates and the fans and the coaches. I mean, Indiana deserved a chance to play for that title with their best guys on the floor, and they were robbed of about 30 minutes of play that he would have had in that crucial, series deciding Game 7. That said, I still think Oklahoma City wins that game with or without him. I don't think it's fair to take that away from Oklahoma City, but it's also not fair. But it wouldn't be fair to at least note that the Pacers were without their leader and best or second best player, depending on how you look at Pascal Siakam. So more than anything, I just feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for basketball fans in general. We wanted to see the best of the best go at each other. TJ McConnell stepped up big. Kudos to TJ McConnell. He stepped up huge in this series. He had a great game and a great series, stepping in, filling in as best he could for Tyrese Haliburton. And he played so well and in minutes that he wouldn't have normally gotten that I truly do believe that the Thunder are winning this series regardless. They were winning that Game 7. They were winning that Game 7 regardless, but you still just feel horrible for them. You feel horrible for their fans who haven't been there in 25 years, who may not get back for a while, especially if Halliburton's going to miss all of next season. You hate to think of them 20 years from now still talking about what could have been with Tyrese Haliburton. If only Tyrese hadn't gotten hurt in Game 7. That's not fun. And it was eerily reminiscent of Kevin Durant and the Warriors in 2019, right? I mean, Kevin Durant has the calf strain. We know it's a calf strain. It was clearly on his more of a lower calf strain. They even called it lower calf, and we all were like, sounds like you're talking about his Achilles has a problem. That's an issue. But like Tyrese Haliburton, he wanted to play through pain, risk it. It's the finals. You're almost to the finish line, and then you can rest for the offseason. And in both cases, snap their Achilles, series over, season over, they lose the series. So very, very reminiscent of that. So if you have a calf strain and you're even somewhat worried about it and it's not the NBA Finals, I would definitely take it easy. What I don't get, though, is that training is better, nutrition is better, yet these injuries seem to be on the rise. Science is better than ever, yet durability is worse than ever. How is that possible? It feels like it used to be so uncommon that these types of major injuries would happen, particularly to star players, but now it happens a lot. I mean, just this postseason alone, ruptured Achilles by Dame, Tatum, Halliburton. 3 superstars tore their Achilles this postseason. And in recent years, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, it seems like ACL tears are on the rise as well. Growing up for me, it was rare. Stockton, Malone, Jordan, Barkley, Ewing, all these guys. I can go through a whole slew of superstar players who never had major injuries like this. Maybe little ones, but not ACL and Achilles tears. The real major one I can think of is Kobe Bryant, but even his came after his prime was clearly over, and we felt like that was the end. And it essentially kind of was. He had a couple of mediocre seasons by his standards after that. But his came late in his career. He was 3 years removed from his most recent title. He wasn't really in MVP contention anymore, and he was already on the downhill of his career. But now it's happening to guys. I mean, Halliburton's young. Tatum's young. Dame's a little older, but that's just this postseason. Klay was in his 20s when his happened. So it just makes me wonder, why is this happening? Is it the conditioning? Are they on supplements? Is it the shoes? Like, something is clearly off. Is it load management? What is it that's making these players today more injury prone to these really serious injuries? Because if the training and the science and the conditioning and the nutrition and the supplements are all the best of the best, why is it resulting in more major injuries for the players? If load management is such a good thing for your body, why are more players getting hurt? So with that, we got to talk about the Pacers next year. How good are they going to be? If Halliburton was healthy, they'd for sure be the favorites to win the East again. But he's not, and he's probably going to miss all of next season, for sure most of next season. So without him, I got to give the edge to the Cavs. We'll see where Giannis ends up, but I mean, I would say the Celtics, but Tatum's going to be out for the year. We'll see where Giannis ends up with the Bucks and if he gets traded or not. But the Cavs seem to be the front runners in the East right now because the East is pretty weak. The two best teams outside of the Cavs are, of course, the Celtics. Their star is injured with an Achilles tear. And the Pacers. Their star is injured with an Achilles tear. So that really leaves where does Giannis land and how good do the Cavs come back next season? They were one of the best teams in the league this regular season. We'll see if they can get over the hump next year in the postseason. I believe the Cavs will enter next year as the favorites in the East merely because the Celtics star and the Pacers star are out with season-ending injuries. All right, moving on from the finals, but sticking in the NBA, groundbreaking news happened just before Game 7 of the finals, and that is that Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, a first-round pick, and a couple of second-round picks. Two very contradicting thoughts come to my mind with this Kevin Durant trade to Houston. The first thought is, it's crazy that he's still worth this. It's crazy that he's still worth this when he hasn't won anything even remotely significant since he left Golden State 6 years ago. He's also going to be 37 years old before next season starts, and he's going to be 37 years old before next season even starts. So it's wild that he's even worth this trade value. Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, for a 37-year-old who hasn't won anything significant in 6 years. The second thought is that completely contradicts that, is that this makes the Rockets title contenders right away. They won 52 games last year without him, which was second in the stacked West. They have what I consider to be the best coach in the NBA in Ime Udoka. They have a young, growing core, with the exception of Durant now. But Şengün, Amen Thompson, and Durant, that is a solid big three or core three. Jalen Green was the team's leading scorer this season, but in the postseason, he kind of faded away and didn't do so hot. And I think that's exactly why they look for Durant to come in and get them over the hump in the postseason. I predicted it. I knew they'd lose to the Warriors in the first round. They did. With a guy like Kevin Durant, I don't think you lose that series. And that's what the Rockets are looking for. They're clearly in win-now mode. They've probably got 2 great seasons with Kevin Durant being able to score 25 plus a night, which, by the way, he has not scored under 25 points per game for a season since his rookie year. And he has not shot under 50% from the field since 2011. So I do think this was a great move for the Houston Rockets. Sure, you give up a young, talented, promising Jalen Green, but you get a bona fide, proven veteran superstar who will be your clear number one option on offense. You keep your best defender in Amen Thompson. You keep a great number 2 scoring option in Şengün, and you have solid role players around those 3 with the best coach in the league. And then a third thought creeps in. I thought this same thing when KD went to Brooklyn and when he went to Phoenix. I thought, maybe this could be it. Now, I do think the Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant combo was bad from the start, but I didn't think it would be nearly as bad as it proved to be. But I thought that they'd have a chance in Brooklyn to win it. In fact, I thought they'd for sure win it all in Brooklyn at some point. Injuries kind of got in the way and things just never really worked out. They couldn't get on the court really at the same time together. But the fact remains, Durant has not won anything significant since he left Golden State. So will this be another case in point for that? So will this be more of the same in that regard, where it's just going to be, you make first, second round and nothing more? I don't think so, but we'll have to wait and see. Fun fact, though, all 3 original Thunder superstars, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, all 3 of them at some point were acquired by the Houston Rockets. Of course, James Harden first in 2012, then Russell Westbrook in 2019, and now Kevin Durant in 2025. So they were drafted and traded away in reverse order. But that brings me to my next question. What would winning a title in Houston do for Kevin Durant's legacy? He's got an MVP. He's got 4 scoring titles. He's got 2 titles. He's got 2 finals MVPs. What more can this guy do to solidify his place in NBA lore? He can win a 3rd title, not with Golden State, in Houston late in his career. I think a 3rd title as the lead guy and another finals MVP in Houston with a young group would put Kevin Durant firmly in top 10 all-time discussions. Right now, he's just on the outside looking in, somewhere around the 12 to 16 range. I think a 3rd title with a finals MVP, not in Golden State, not with anyone who's won a title previously, I think that puts him firmly in top 10 discussions. And here's the thing with Kevin Durant. He gets dragged a bit for the Golden State move, and partially rightfully so. He did go to a team that had a couple of superstars. They had won a title a couple of years earlier. They had just won 73 games. But the fact is, They lost to LeBron James and the Cavs the year before. And when they had Kevin Durant, they won a title, and when he got injured, they lost again to the Raptors. Now, I realize that the Warriors won a title before he got there, and they won a title a few years after he left, so I'm not going to take anything away from Steph, Klay, and Draymond, but the fact remains, they did lose right before he got there, and they did lose the second he went down. There's a good argument they win that series in 2016 against the Cavs if Draymond Green doesn't get suspended for Game 5 for nut-punching LeBron James. Good chance the Warriors wrap that up in 5 games, in my opinion. But the fact is they didn't, and then they let Game 6 and 7 slip away. And the other thing is, I always thought that Cavs team was a more talented, better team than the Warriors. You had LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love. At that time, that was clearly a better big three than Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Some injuries got in the way and things like that where it just didn't work out for the Cavs, except that one year where they kind of caught lightning in a bottle and had the epic 3-1 comeback. But I did think that Cavs team was better than that Warriors team until they got Kevin Durant. Then it was crazy lopsided. So to me, Kevin Durant's already an all-time great, top 15 to 20, no doubt. But a third title and a third Finals MVP away from Steph Curry, away from Steve Kerr, would put him solidly in top 10 discussions. So now let's talk about the Suns side of things. Did the Suns get better? Did the Suns get better or worse by trading Kevin Durant to Houston? In my honest opinion, they also got better. This trade was a win-win. The first thing, they got younger. Jalen Green is only 23 years old with loads of promise. Dillon Brooks is only 29. Kevin Durant is 37. They certainly got better defensively. Jalen Green is a solid defender, certainly a better defender than Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, or Devin Booker. Dillon Brooks is as well, and he brings the defensive effort and intensity that the Suns have been missing. The other thing is they have a clear pecking order now on offense. Devin Booker is, again, the clear number one option offensively. And I think that matters. We saw that in Miami that first year with LeBron when D-Wade and him just couldn't quite figure out who number one should be. They ended up losing that finals to Dirk and the Mavs. Having a clear number one is important, and now they have one. It's Devin Booker. They do still have 3 solid scoring wing players, which could be problematic. It's kind of similar to what they just dealt with. But I do think it's different because you have the clear pecking order. With Booker number 1, you have a better wing defender in Jalen Green, a better defender in Dillon Brooks. They also got the number 10 pick in this year's draft coming up just in a couple of days. So I think the Suns absolutely got better. They got rid of an aging star. They brought in a young star. They brought in a kind of a defensive enforcer who's also pretty young and has experience. They got the number 10 pick in this draft. Their biggest mistake has been Bradley Beal. One last thing I got to squeeze in here before we move on. Alex Caruso at the podium talked about how this title was harder than the one with the Lakers, and he said something that a lot of people are going to have a problem with.
A championship is a championship, but there were 70 people in the gym when you won your first one.
Yeah.
How much better?
Probably like 150, but
maybe 100, maybe even 200. But
maybe.
How much better does this one feel?
Yeah, now I got a real one. Now nobody can say anything.
Okay, a little tongue-in-cheek there. He's clearly half joking, but it's also clearly been on his mind. It's clearly something he deals with regularly. I got a real one. Now nobody can say anything. Right out of the mouth of Alex Caruso. Now, Caruso went on X later and said he'd already had a couple of beers and it was sarcasm. He's a 2-time champ. He is a 2-time champ. But let's be honest, alcohol can be a little bit of a truth serum sometimes. Maybe this is actually what he thinks deep down. You know, LeBron's just dialing him up like, how dare you take that back right now? LeBron's calling him, threatening him. Don't diminish our hardest ever title. Yeah, hardest ever. I can just see LeBron now dialing up Caruso all mad. Take that back right now. Text him, threatening him. Lawsuits coming in from Clutch Sports. That was the hardest title ever. Say that right now. Say that this title was easier than that one. I'm joking, of course, but only partially. Again, the Lakers did win the title that was offered in 2020. Hats off to them. Props to them for winning that title. But there is nothing anyone can say to convince me that that title was harder or more legitimate than a regular 82-game travel around the country NBA season. All right, Gilbert Arenas is back at it with more lists. This guy has a bunch of different lists, top 5s. But here's what he says. So that there's no confusion about my takes. Here's my top 5 list. I do not debate this. Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Magic, Duncan. That's his top 5 all time. His favorites is very different. Kobe, Penny, Magic, Iverson, KD. He likes guys with a little razzle-dazzle. We get it. And then the consensus media top 5, I do debate, he says. Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, Magic, Wilt. I don't think that Wilt is a consensus top 5 at all, actually. I don't even put Wilt in my top 10, by the way. But this is Gil's top 5, and I think it's a pretty good one. I think the order's pretty good, too. MJ number 1, and then you can argue Kobe or Bron number 2, the other one, of course, number 3. Magic, I wouldn't put that high. I actually have Steph higher than Magic all time, but Duncan's got to make your top 5. I have Shaq at number 4, Duncan at number 5. But Gil's been making waves with all these lists, and a lot of players have been getting kind of heated at him for it. Check this out. Draymond Green says, a bunch of non-champions having championship conversations. This world we live in is crazy. Gil claps back, you should thank us for the convo. So second options and thirds get a fair judgment. Clay with 4 rings left off the top 75. Pippen has 6 rings and sits 32 all time. 6 people in front of him with no rings. Why? Not my opinion, it's my research that exposed they don't respect second option rings. To which Draymond, in true Draymond fashion, clapped back with this. There would never be a reason for me to thank you for anything involving the game of basketball. There's nothing you guys can say or topic y'all can cover that can change anything for me when it comes to the game of basketball or the NBA. Only someone who has never been a champion would think that's a conversation that would ever matter. Your research was just missing one key perspective. A champion that understands what it means to do so it's just a tad bit flawed. Nothing like grown men fighting with each other on social media, right? Now, Draymond is a champion. He's a 4-time champion. But let's be honest, his rings don't hold the same weight as Steph's do. They were on the same team for all 4 titles, and everybody knows that Steph was the more important and better player. And that's what Gil's getting at here. He's actually trying to protect guys like Draymond. Hey, you've got a bunch of rings, but people put you behind these other players. But the truth is, rightfully so, Barkley is a better all-time player than Draymond Green is. I don't care that Draymond has 4 rings and Barkley has 0. Nobody would take Draymond over Barkley if they were creating an all-time team. It wouldn't happen. So Draymond, you are a champ. Hats off to you, my friend. But there's always something you can learn from everybody. Wemby announced his all-time starting 5, and it is spot on. Mad props to my boy Wemby. Look at this starting 5. This is the perfect starting 5. This is the all-time starting 5. Steph Curry at your point guard. MJ at your 2. LeBron at your 3. Duncan at your 4. Shaq at your 5. No one is beating that starting 5. So Wemby, nice work. You and I have the same starting 5. And I challenge anyone to come up with a better starting 5 than that. Steph, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Duncan, Shaq. You're not beating that team. I don't care what 5 you put together, it's not beating that team. You can even reuse some of those players and replace even one of them with anyone, and you're not beating that team. You could maybe put Hakeem in place of Shaq, and it's like, maybe, but nah. All right, you guys, that's all the time I have for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This is STB Sports Take. I am out. Peace.